Why are we here? Have you ever wondered why we are here? I'm not talking about where we are. I'm talking about why we are. Why are we alive today? Jonah and George Bailey have some thoughts for me to share, and maybe for you to share too. I knew you were sheer grace and mercy, not easily angered, rich in love, and ready to drop at the drop of a hat to turn your plans of punishment into a program of forgiveness. So, God, if you won't kill them, kill me. I'm better off dead. So says Jonah in the book of Jonah, chapter 4, verses 1 to 3. Jonah wants to know why he is still alive. Kill me, he instructs God, after being miraculously rescued from a whale. You know the story, right? Jonah complains that he would be better off dead. Let me pause here. If you are seriously saying that right now, if you have a plan for taking your life, stop. Call 988 for help. If you know someone who may be considering suicide, stop. Contact them. A dear friend of mine loses his brother to suicide. Subsequently, he starts a national program called Be Nice. Every one, us, every one of us can, he points out, notice, invite, challenge, and empower the people around us who may be struggling during this holiday season. So if you want to take your life, call 988. If you want to fully live your life, though, read on, listen on, watch on. So Jonah wants to end his life. However, before he does, he experiences two miraculous interventions from God. First, a whale saves him from drowning. The sailors who he sails with may not want him in the boat. God, however, wants him in that whale. Whether story or history, the moral of the story remains. God wants Jonah alive. So the whale swallows Jonah, then it vomits him up on the shore. It's far fetched. Still, is God putting Jonah in the whale any more miraculous than God putting me in my mother's womb? Why Jonah? Why Jonathan? How can I explain why I get delivered onto the shores of Ridgewood, New Jersey, and into the arms of my parents? God or fate, higher power, the universe, whatever, something or someone wanted Jonah alive then and still wants me in the world today. Jonah's whale assures him that God wants him to live. His second lesson comes from a shade tree. Again, whether story or history, the growth of any living thing is miraculous. Yes? Some kind of plant quickly grows up over Jonah to shade him from the hot sun. Then a parasite worm attacks Jonah's shade plant. The plant dies. Jonah, as I have already noted, tells God, if you won't kill them, the Ninevites, the sworn enemies of Israel, kill me. I'm better off dead. The whale assures Jonah that God wants Jonah in the world. The worm that eats the plant reminds Jonah that God wants other people in this world too. Donald Trump doesn't get swallowed by a whale. His life does get spared, however. As I have written before, I believe that the assassin's bullet misses our president because God wants him in the world. I also believe that God wants other people like Liz Cheney in the world too. I don't believe that God spared Trump's life so that he could destroy hers. Trump claims that Liz Cheney is a very dumb individual. She's a war hawk. Let's put her in with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels trained on her when the guns are trained on her face. Unquote. There are 9 Supreme Court justices. I don't believe God wants their legal guns trained on Liz Cheney's face. I don't believe God wants any guns trained on any faces. Do you? So, a year ago, when I initially write this article, I attend a live radio play of the classic Christmas movie, It's a Wonderful Life. Jimmy Stewart plays George Bailey in the movie, one of my favorite movies. And speaking with the play's director, the radio play, Kurt L. Toftland, I discover some backstory about the movie's main character, Jimmy Stewart. Jimmy Stewart serves in World War II as a pilot in the Army Air Corps. Like many vets, he suffers from what we today would call post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, as a result of his combat experiences. Many believe that this influences his performance in the film It's a Wonderful Life, where his character grapples with similar emotional struggles. Towards the end of the movie and the radio play, George Bailey, played by Jimmy Stewart in the movie, prays, kind of like Jonah calls out to God. Here's the prayer. Dear Father in heaven, I'm not a praying man, but if you're up there and you can hear me, show me the way. I am at the end of my rope. From Kurt, the radio play director's notes, Stewart recalls of that scene, as I said those words, I felt the loneliness, the hopelessness of people who had nowhere to turn, and my eyes filled with tears. I broke down sobbing. This was not planned at all, but the power of that prayer, the realization that our Father in heaven is there to help the hopeless, had reduced Jimmy Stewart to tears. Why do bullets miss Jimmy in World War II and Donald near Butler, Pennsylvania? Jimmy thinks it's because our Father in heaven is there to help him and to help the hopeless. I think, it's not so we can destroy our enemies. Why are we here? I think it's so that we can be loved, and I think it's so that we can be loving. One wonderful life at a time.